Welcome back, everyone, to episode 14 of Beer League Rebound. Just want to give a big shout out again to Ryan Foisey for coming on to last week's episode. Hope you guys all enjoyed that interview and got a good in-depth view of beer league hockey. And I know we usually cover junior hockey or college hockey, but it was nice to kind of switch it up and follow the beer league hockey route. I thought it was great, and like I keep saying, it gave a great perspective of Ryan and what his journey with beer league hockey was like and everything like that. So thank you again for everyone for tuning into that one. Now, for this episode, we have no interview lined up. Yep, that's right. Go back to how it was 4 episodes ago. Back to episode 10, going solo. I just wanted to go solo for this one. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff that's come out, and I just personally wanted to kind of give my own insight and input on stuff. So sit back, relax, grab some snacks if that's what you want, and get ready for a kind of a wild episode. I feel like a lot of stuff's come out, a lot of good, a lot of bad stuff has come out, and we're gonna try and address all of it. So, but as always, if you guys find interesting topics for me to talk about on this podcast or anything like that, feel free to always message me either on my Facebook or my Twitter or Instagram. Feel free to DM me, message me, and give your input. I love to have it featured on the podcast and talk about it. That's how you create more hockey content right there. It's getting other people's input. So feel free to do that. But to start everything off on a positive note, today actually, the Philadelphia Flyers Oscar Lindblom was on the ice after his, I believe, how many months was it? 10 months of him having getting admitted with cancer, I believe. I could be wrong, but I just know that Oscar was on the ice for his first time today since December, I believe, or November. With everything going on, he was able to recover back, and he's doing great. A lot of work ahead of him still to probably get back to where his game was at, mentally, physically. But there was nothing else more happier than logging on to my Twitter today and seeing that Lindblom was skating around on the ice and, looking good and having fun again. So just want to start the episode on a high note before we kind of get into, I don't want to say it's like bad stuff, but it's like a lot of highs and lows for this episode. So we'll start with the NHL first. So NHL, the score came out yesterday regarding NHL players are not happy with everything that's going on. This is why they better have a full player vote and not just an executive vote. In their opinion, no way that they should play. That was an anonymous veteran of the Western Conference NHL player that came out saying that. So it sounds like a lot of a majority of players are either happy or not happy with this. It's hard to determine because this could just be one team's opinion. This could be several teams' opinion, but it seems like some aren't happy with the situation right now, which, I understand. I also understand at the same time, though, like, it's a give and take kind of situation. The NHL has been working around the clock to try and make something work. I know things aren't going the way we want with some of the stuff that's been coming out lately, but we'll address that. But, I understand why the players are upset, but I also understand why, at the same time, I think that it's too early for them to be judging anything. It sucks because they can't practice as a team fully right now. They're only practicing with like a smaller amount of players, so I imagine the atmosphere is probably not what they're used to, and that might be like a big factor into why they're not enjoying it. Then again, I'm just speculating off this right now, but I just think when you don't have all the guys that are together, the locker room's not the same. You got a social distance probably in the locker room. It's probably just, a whole lot of restrictions compared to what they were used to. But I mean, that's kind of just like with everything that's been going on right now. There's restrictions and guidelines to everything. So I'm just going to leave that part of that. That sounds like a majority some NHL guys are not happy with the situation. But as far as right now, the NHL plans on continuing to truck along with everything. So, but this in Dallas and also, well, not just then, but this came out today as well. Dallas and Pittsburgh have also been informed that they are no longer in the hub city process. They also joined Columbus and Minnesota on the outs. The 6 that remain are Vegas, Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, LA, and Chicago. Now, I'm not surprised with Pittsburgh and Dallas getting knocked out of the ballpark. To be honest, I'm really surprised that Edmonton's still in this category, but that's very exciting. Just being an Albertan, I really do want to see Edmonton get it. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I do not. I heard rumor that it's going to be a Vancouver and Vegas as front runners right now, which I personally don't even agree with. It's weird how they're going to have 2 Western conferences on the same side. I just imagine that they try to give these sides some good type of TV view times or ratings or something along the lines of that. But as far as I heard, Vancouver and Vegas have had the promising ones. Edmonton's up there, though. I heard Edmonton's had a better chance of hosting the NHL Hub playoffs compared to Toronto, which I felt was massive because I think in the last episode I said that it's going to be Vegas and Toronto. So Edmonton's ahead of Toronto on the process. I have no idea who's going to get selected. It's weird that I thought Vegas was confirmed, but it sounds like it's not confirmed, but it sounds like it is confirmed. Everything's still very up in the air right now, which makes it, what one person says is obviously different what another person's saying right now, and everything's just kind of getting tossed around back and forth on that. So it's making for very difficult judgment calls. But I kind of want to talk about how I think that with Edmonton being one of the front runners, what steps they have taken to make it so promising for them to be ahead of these much bigger cities. Because I just didn't see the venue different. Like I obviously Edmonton has a lot of good what's the word I'm looking for? They have a lot of good necessities for the players and everything like that. But I thought like Toronto or something like that would have been more appealing than Edmonton. But I don't know. I'm going to talk about this as well. I don't know if any of you watched the video that Kenney, the Premier of Alberta, came out with. It was a video about why the NHL needs to host the playoffs in Edmonton. Now, if any of you have ever been to Edmonton, and if any of you have seen that video, you have know that they do not match up at all. And the reason being why they don't match up, they filmed or they took an old tourist video or something like that of Jasper, which is like 3 to 5 hours away from Edmonton in the Rocky Mountains, and used that footage as a reason why the NHL playoffs should happen in Edmonton. How the hell does that make sense? You got these beautiful sceneries, absolute stunning mountains, great trees, water flowing. Guess what Edmonton doesn't have? None of that. How did that go through all these editing processes? It probably went through several people, and they're like, yep, this represents Edmonton. You guys got Gretzky Avenue. You got your arena. You got so many other things that you could have showed to actually try and show that Edmonton is a hockey city. But you guys escaped off to the mountains to record what you thought was Edmonton that wasn't Edmonton. How does that make sense? And any NHL player that's ever played in Edmonton knows for a fact that that's not even true at all. So, Kenney, don't know what you were trying to aim at with that video. I think it did more bad than good because you're just kind of getting made fun of now for having that type of video, but it didn't serve the purpose that you're trying to serve, and it doesn't show Edmonton as a hockey city. It shows, if anything, if you're trying to show Alberta as a whole, as a hockey community, you still didn't list the fact that we're also very much a majority of prairie province, and you literally just filmed nothing but the glaciers and Jasper, and that's about it. And that is not what's all about Alberta. So I feel like you took that in a totally wrong direction, and like I said, that doesn't represent all of Alberta. Or if you're trying to represent Edmonton, that does not represent at all, not in the slightest bit at all. So gonna leave that video as that, because I just thought it was hilarious and I had to talk about it because like I said, it literally went through an editing team. Someone sat there and was like, oh yeah, this is good, yeah, we'll use this one to showcase that we deserve the play. It absolutely blows my mind. If you haven't seen the video, I did retweet it. I'll retweet it on my Beer League Rebound account as well. I retweet on my personal account, but I'll make sure to retweet it so you can go check it out. It's pretty funny, like I said. I like if you know Edmonton, you just know it looks nothing like that. So we'll leave it like at that. Some other so here we have so the federal government also had cleared a path for the NHL to have hub cities in Canada. So I think now, so that got tweeted out 4 days ago. So now I'm thinking that when I said that it could be 2 American cities, I still think that's a good chance just because of the whole conversion rate, the money rate, everything like that, travel and everything. But a big problem right now is like all the hot spots where these teams are. So Canada's confirmed that they are able to host the hub cities. And you know what? We're actually going to talk about this. So as we all know, 11 cases came out between staff members. I think it's 11. Maybe it's more now. Maybe it's under. I'm pretty sure it's 11. But 11 cases. And of course, it's including Austin Matthews in this. Reported they had COVID-19 just this past week, right? Yeah, this past week. So that was huge news because we're only in phase 2 for the NHL right now. What I want to talk about is why was Matthews, the one article I read that Matthews was training with other Coyote players. If we are in a phase 2, why are these guys training in the hottest spots in the States for COVID right now? We got Arizona and Florida, which are absolutely crazy right now with these cases. And we're having our players train with other players down there right now. What? I don't know who thought of this, but if anything, Matthew should be back in Toronto with Anderson. I know if I could understand they're trying to work on something else, but I mean, you're in phase 2. You're this close to getting back on the ice and doing your job again, and this is like the bad timing for you to be going and hanging out with other people to train with. I understand that like other people have been going out and doing stuff. I understand, but it's just now it put the NHL kind of in a scary situation. The NHL still plans to resume into phase 3 by July 10th or 11th, I believe. But that just put a huge damper in my opinion, where now people are more skeptical of everything. I know I'm more skeptical. I still think I have a very, 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 very strong belief that the playoffs are still gonna happen. But I think now there's gonna definitely have to be stronger guidelines put in place. These guys are gonna have to get put into like a bubble situation, like what the NBA's been doing with their guys, like going out to Orlando, because having this free range is not working out for these teams right now because we have 11 cases and we need these guys to not be training in hotspots. Like I imagine they could go to the other parts of the states as teams, and if they have to try and find some type of ice surface, or I'm not the person who's in charge to run all that. I'm just speculating that there's probably other options they could be doing right now than in these hot spots where there's absolutely like next to no guidelines put in place and where people are just wandering around, doing whatever. It blows my mind. So hopefully there's no more COVID cases that come out from the NHL because where I feel like we're so close, and last win we won is it slipping through our fingers. So I believe that's all I had for it now for NHL. I know it's more COVID talk, but you get what you get. I felt like it was very interesting, though, with how everything's being handled with the NHL and, player and staff members, of course, getting COVID now, and how the NHL is going to respond towards, and, what hub cities seems to be more dominant than the other one. Like, it's all very fascinating right now. So we'll leave the NHL news at that, unless anything else crosses my mind. But for some exciting news, so we'll go back into some junior hockey here. The Alberta Junior Hockey League came out saying that they are full speed ahead for having a season for 2020-2021, which I'm very, very excited for. This is obviously, the season still will not happen if anything happens and restrictions get put in place and stuff like that. But as of the moment, the season will be resuming, which is absolutely huge for junior guys right now. This is going to be some absolutely make or break years. This is going to be where who really wants it more, because with university hockey not being played for either half a semester or for like a whole season, there's going to be a whole lot more attention on these junior guys, in my opinion. This is just me speculating. The WHL came out saying that they're also going to have a season as well, which is also huge. So these junior seasons that are about to fire back up, this is the time, boys. This is the time where everyone was going to be watching you. There's going to be next to no other hockey at a college or university level to be watched. So I'm really excited for junior hockey. I'm expecting some good turnouts, obviously, with guidelines put in place. I feel like I have to stress that, but I feel like it's going to be some good turnouts and some good opportunities for scouts to come out and watch some really talented athletes, and it's going to be exciting. If everything can go as planned, for damn sure, I'm going to be at so many junior games now, just because this is where we're going to see a lot of talent step up, and who was able to put in the hard work during this off season during the global pandemic, and who is able to overcome obstacles and make rollerblading like their new thing. It's everything that they've been doing. We're all gonna see it happen in October, permitting everything happens. So I just thought that was because, and as I mentioned during that whole junior hockey, so for university hockey, it sounds like I talked about this. It sounds like the earliest start will be January 2021 for youth sports, and ACAC just came out as well saying that. I heard rumor. I don't know if it's happened yet, that ACAC thought about canceling the whole season, but as of the moment, the first semester is canceled, and same for youth sports. But in some more sad news, the University of Alberta came out saying that their entire hockey, I believe their football, volleyball, basketball, all their sports are canceled for the entire year. Yes, there's not enough funding, I believe, encouraged for sports and for them to make a comeback for the second semester without having students there full time for classes as well, all of it being taught online. So University of Alberta has reached out, and they are pretty much just skipping a year. They are just not participating at all this year, which sucks. It sucks because I don't know what's going to happen to these scholarships. These players are going to be honored their scholarships, or if lots of these guys are going to be taking gap years, because if you're because you're only allowed a certain amount of years as eligibility. I believe it's in the States, it's 4, Canada, it's 5. So 5 years eligibility to play. So obviously it wouldn't count towards your eligibility, but like now if you think about it, you're in like a 4-year degree program, but you spread it out to 5 years to cover for all your sports and all that. And if your scholarship isn't honored unless you go and take classes. This is me just speculating again, but if that happens, that's going to put a damper into what kids are going to want to do for I think their courses, their studies, like everything. I think there's going to be a lot of students not going back this year because there's no point without them being able to get their schooling paid for with a scholarship while playing. So I don't know what's all going to happen with that. I just found like it's another. I feel like ever since I started this podcast, I report more sad news on university teams, having unfortunately fold, and it sucks. Like obviously, University of Alberta's not folding completely their program; they're skipping a year, but it just sucks because that puts such a headache on players. They're going to be potentially scrambling around to find other schools that they can transfer their programs over, or they're going to have to wait out an entire year of not being able to play. And especially if they even had the chance for half a season, but with money and everything else, everything's going on in the world right now. It's a very tough situation. So that's why I think this junior hockey is going to be huge. I bet you if there's any 20-year-olds who are supposed to play U of A, if there was any, they might be looking at some junior A routes for the time being to keep the legs going. I don't know. I don't know how that would all work. But I'm just, as I keep stressing, just speculating on everything because it's all very interesting to look at it. But as of now, U of A, they had to opt out and they're no longer going to be playing this year, which is very, very unfortunate. So, I believe that's all I had as well for the university hockey talk. So, I guess we can kind of dive into. So your boy finally got some ice time. So here's a little segment. I'm going to talk about my first time being back on the ice and what it was like. So I've done 2 ice times now. I did back-to-backs. Absolute horrible, but great idea. So much fun. But so the first time I go on the ice, I step on the ice, and literally like the best feeling ever. Like I was like a kid at Christmas time. I felt like I was so giddy. I was smiling, so happy. But I'm like skating around, and I'm like, my blades just feel horrible, like just absolutely atrocious. I was like, oh right, I got them sharpened before, and everything with the pandemic, and I think I got a bad sharpening. So I'm like, whatever, I'll play the game. Obviously, I'm on the ice, and I've been on the ice in months, so unsharpened skates weren't gonna bother me at all. Well, that's what I thought. So I played a game, real tired at the end. It was a 3-on-3 in a very small ice surface. So if anyone's ever gone and done that, it's a very fast-paced game. Well, I was playing like a slower version of it, but it's very fast-paced, very continuous moving, and I was absolutely drenching in sweat afterwards. I followed all the proper guidelines and everything like that, so we were all good with that. And then I played that night. Then the second day, I had another ice time that night. I took my skates into pro hockey because I was like, I got to get these bad boys fixed, like right now. This is absolutely horrible. Take my skates in, and I used to work at pro hockey back in the day, so I know the guy who was sharpening skates, Kenney. And Kenney took my skates, and he's looks at them, and he's like, Bryce, they're not that sharp, and you got a bent blade. And I couldn't believe it. And he showed me, and I literally, the whole skate blade was bent. And I looked down it, and I don't know how I personally didn't notice it. I was just obviously too excited to put my skates on to even consider looking at what was wrong with them. But so I had to get my blades replaced. I played a whole game on a bent blade, and it was horrible. But I got new blades put in. I think the worst part, though, was I picked up these skates, like, they're top-of-the-line skates from, like, 2016 when CCM had their Ribcore line, their 50Ks. I paid, like, $400-something for it. Smoking deal, or what I thought, apparently. And within a year, I bent the blade. I know it happens all the time, and that's what people told me. I understand that. But I was still genuinely upset because I had mid-line Bowers where I wore the steel down to the cowling pretty much and put new steel in, and I never had a problem. Then skates I've had for a year, I've bent the blade playing beer league hockey. I'm not playing anything competitive. I'm on the ice a lot. Well, I was before this, but other than that, it was nothing absurd. Like, I wasn't doing nothing crazy, so I thought it absolutely blew my mind that this happened. So I've had to share that story. I thought it was pretty funny that my first ice time, I absolutely had this bent blade, and I thought it was a bad sharpening, and I just played an entire game with it, and it was horrible too. Like, I remember just trying to slide across my crease. I couldn't do anything. Foot was sliding up, but hey, I did not care. Just the idea of like laying on cold ice again and like being on it was so nice that anything else that was going on did not phase me, did not cross my mind. But I went out for that second ice time after getting all my blades fixed. And, Smitty, I know you're going to listen because you told me to put this on the podcast, but Smitty and the boys absolutely had some fun, firing some pucks at me and absolutely making me look like a goof at times, but so much fun. It was nice having that fast pace again and playing with those guys. And, Smitty, Smiley, Brent, all you guys listening, or John, thanks for having me out again, Patrick. It was a lot of fun, and I'm having a blast again being back on the ice. And, we got a summer season potentially about to start here, so a lot of good things moving forward. So the kind of recap on everything that we talked about in this episode. The NHL, I believe, is still going to happen at the end of July, and beer league hockey is still going to happen in July. So get ready for some very exciting podcast content, which leads me to my next point, actually. So during this whole last 2 months, I was taking an online class for my school at State. I was working 40 hours a week, and I was doing this podcast. To me, it was a lot of times. I was writing papers and doing everything. It became a lot, but I finished my class. I did good in it. Got some good grades. Parents are going to be proud, but that's not the main point. The main point is I got more free time now. So expect the podcast content to improve drastically this next couple months. I'm talking from video edits to everything else. I really want to step up my game during these next couple months where I have the time and the chance and the resources to do it. So I'm going to do it. So look forward to some new stuff coming out from me and everything like that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And with, hockey coming in and everything else, and I'm going to film some of my games, I think we're going to have a lot of fun and bringing on more people for interviews, of course. Like, we got a fun summer looking up for hockey, and I think you're all here for the ride, and I think it's going to be a good one because I just can't stop smiling thinking about how the summer I thought it wasn't going to be anything to potentially hockey. I guess everything could change. We don't know everything with this virus, but as of the moment, we got some hockey content that's building up for the summer, and I can't wait to share it with all of you and express like how I work with it and everything like that, and just see my content grow. So that's going to wrap up this episode. Make sure you guys just follow all my social media accounts. I've been trying to stay up to date on everything. I'm really going to be a lot more active on them now with all the extra time I'm going to have with no school. So make sure you stay up on my accounts and follow everything. And I'm also on TikTok now. That's where I'm going to be posting some small highlight clips from my interviews or from whatever like NHL games that happen. So feel free to follow my TikTok account now. I'll have all that listed down below with the rest of my social media. But thank you again for listening, and look forward to talking to you guys next week.